Good evening, awesome people. Welcome to episode 26 of Countdown to Freedom in Iran. If you're seeing a different background, it's because I'm officially in DC. We're not in the Miami studio. Give me 1 second. I have to respond to Matthew, who's our special guest here tonight. You're on in 40 minutes. See, there's always mix up of Eastern time and Pacific Standard Time. It always confuses some of our guests. So I just had to clarify to him that we're on now and not in 3 hours. Anyways, good evening, Durud. My name is Iman, and if you're not familiar with what Countdown to Freedom in Iran is, it is the only weekly English-speaking live stream dedicated to what's happening in Iran. News and updates. Also, a ton of updates from what the Unite and Conquer team is doing, which we're going to have Sareh tell us what's going on July 3rd. But if you've been following me and Unite and Conquer and our Uniters and so many people that are ambassadors of our July 3rd event, then you probably already know what's going on. But there are some updates. There's some great stuff to share with you. And so Sareh will do that. And then also my guest today is going to be one of my dear friends, a stress doctor, Dr. Rassoul. He's going to be talking about Postural Land Mines. And our special guest is going to be Matthew Nouriel, aka the Empress Mizrahi. He's a non-binary digital activist and content creator. Matthew is of Iranian Jewish descent and uses their voice to passionately advocate for LGBTQ plus rights and equality within the Iranian Jewish communities and combating anti-Semitism. So we'll be getting to know him much better later on at around 8:40 p.m. Eastern Time. And it's been great having Matthew as part of our ambassador team for the Azadi Festival. And just having them a part of this whole movement has been incredible. So many days I've seen Matthew put out content on a consistent basis every single day. And so looking forward to having a conversation with them in just a little bit. Without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to welcome the Queen Bee of journalism, the individual that every single episode so far has been started off with her giving us a update, latest news. It's always very heavy on the heart, especially for her who's been digesting all this information for the past week and picking out from multiple bad news the best of the worst bad news that there is, so that we are constantly informed and understanding that this fight is still going on. So lots to discuss today on episode 26. We appreciate you guys joining, and as always, it's my pleasure to bring on let me give you one more heads up, by the way. I don't want any sympathy, but I had a 6 o'clock in the morning flight from Miami. Had to have an emergency oral surgery done. Nice little bone graft, very juicy, very nice. And I'm on some medication right now. So if my mind is not exactly, not that it's usually anything special, but it's a couple notches below. So I will apologize in advance right now if I'm slurring my words. I'm numb over here. So again, no sympathy, just a heads up so that you don't think I'm crazy, which I think you already do, but so for one of the hardest working individuals in the journalistic environment. See? Journalistic environment. Like, what does that even mean? I don't know, but you understand. Hi, Pesh. How are you?
That is a very funny intro.
Yeah, call it funny, call it a little bit loony, whatever it is. By the way, is it your volume or is it my volume? I just don't hear you very... Oh, my volume wasn't on. That was my fault. Good evening.
Honestly, the fact that you didn't cancel, our mighty Iris says you're the best for not canceling. Seriously, a bone graft and you're here?
Yeah, like literally well, it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but it took 3 hours. So I just got in like an hour and a half ago, and it's been a doozy. And then also they didn't have the Vicodin, so I had to do extra strength. This is getting too much information, but I'll just
not. Please do tell.
Well, basically, I'm supposed to be on Vicodin, but then they didn't have it. Apparently, everywhere in the DC area is back ordered because people are clearly abusing it. And it's back ordered. It's my pain is now, and you can't back order pain. It's I need the pain now. So I took a bunch of extra strength Tylenol and Advil, ibuprofen, whatever it is. I took a bunch of them, and so not too many. Don't worry, and I'm scaring everybody off.
I'm not scared for you. So can I tell our viewers a little bit about Iman Husman and his pain tolerance and how you forgot that you had an accidental? So I have to tell the story extremely quickly, but we'll tell the long version one day. But essentially, I was in the presence of somebody accidentally putting out their cigarette in Iman's arm instead of an ashtray, and he just flicked his arm like it wasn't a big deal.
I did.
And we were all shocked by his pain threshold, so I'm not surprised.
It was a good cocktail I think I had at that time.
Listen, I'm just glad my mom just joined now because she does not need context as to why there wasn't a cigarette put out on your arm. Hi, Mom.
Let's get to the point where you, who actually knows how to speak, is able to take on this program. Paris, it's now day 286 of this revolution. It's really insane. The Islamic regime's supreme leader is blaming corruption on the judiciary. So according to him, all the violence, the deaths, and the oppression are because of the judiciary?
Yes, you're going to love this one. And he also says that Iranians have lost trust in the judiciary. So he blames everything on, get this, malpractice and false representation. This is all, according to him, these are the problems in Iran right now. So I'm going to share a quote that he shared in an address. He says, quote, "There's a small minority who abuse their position and tarnish the image of the judiciary in the eyes of the people. When corruption enters a system, this disease spreads. It is increasing day by day." If I'm looking to the side, that's where my notes are. He called on authorities to fight corruption within the judicial system, and he warned that corruption is contagious. And that's not all, by the way. The media part, tarnishing the reputation of the judiciary, he basically says that the media is basically making it worse than it is. But in none of what he says does he acknowledge that the judiciary, like Iran's judiciary, is not independent. It is part of the Islamic regime's bureaucracy. And what's really funny is that Khamenei himself controls the judiciary. So essentially, the judges are also prosecutors in the Islamic judicial jurisprudence. So if you go to court, the prosecutor is also the judge. And the entire system reports to Khamenei. But now he's saying that it is a judiciary that's corrupt. Meanwhile, they all report to him, and he elects the leader of the judiciary. None of it makes sense, but it is just, hopefully Iranians are awake to this.
Saudi Arabia is stepping on an offshore field shared with Iran. Has the Islamic regime responded?
Nope. Not really. So here's the story. There's an offshore field. The Islamic regime calls it Arash. Kuwait and Saudi Arabia call it Dure. So there's two different names for it. But it was discovered in 1967. 310 million barrels of oil are supposed to be technically in there. This is an $11 billion deal, according to Saudi Arabia, for them. Iran is claiming that 40% of the field belongs to them. It's in their judicial territorial waters. And they're saying that they have to be part of any action, anything that basically happens in that field needs to go by them because they own 40% of the land. And they're saying that basically any development without his consent is breaking their international laws. So in March last year, Kuwait and Saudi Arabia are like, too bad, they started the extracting process from the field. So they've already started. Meanwhile, the chairman of the board of the directors of Association of Iranian Oil and Gas Drilling Companies has actually criticized the regime for their inaction. He says, quote, "It seems that we have surrendered the fields to our neighbors." And another Iranian official has says, "We have not done anything." So essentially, we have 40%. It is recognized that 40% of the 310 million barrels of oil belongs to Iran, but we're not doing anything. And Saudi Arabia and Kuwait are beginning the process.
I mean, it sounds like Iran has so many other issues that they're just kind of letting this happen because they don't know which fire to put out.
But in all, like we are one of the biggest exporters of oil and gas and when there's new discoveries made. And this is not new, it's from 1967, but it just goes to show how many oil fields are actually being expropriated. But Saudi and Kuwait, the thing is that, Iman, when you don't stake claim to the land, the squatters will get it, and it's the same. Under international law, they're not going to go back and go, okay, well, the oil we took, we're going to give it back to you. This is a massive loss for our people.
Failing our people once more. There's like a long list of failures. The Islamic regime is taking Canada to UN court over civil damages claims. Sorry, what are the accusations?
So the case was announced today at the International Court of Justice, which is the ICJ. It's also known as the World Court. So this all stems from the downing of the Ukrainian passenger flight PS 752. Essentially, the Islamic regime shot it down. They're saying that it was human error that caused this. All 176 passengers died aboard this flight. The Islamic regime is accusing Canada of allegedly breaching Tehran's state immunity by designating it a sponsor of terrorism after the incident. And the regime also says Canada violated international obligations to uphold the principle of sovereignty immunity. And on top of that, they're saying that Canada violated international obligations by allowing people to seek civil damages against Tehran after the flight was down. So after the flight was downed and it was believed that it was the Islamic regime that did it on purpose, the families of the victims requested compensation. The Canadian courts allowed for it to happen, and under international law, you're allowed to seek compensation, but the Islamic regime is basically saying that Canada was out of order for doing that.
Iran and Qatar have inked new economic and security deals. What does that mean for Iranians?
So we're going to proceed this with Iman and I have both lived in Qatar, and we're both very much aware of what it looks like in that country, and the political climate and the economic climate, and this agreement is just more suffering for Iranians. I mean, you'll see how it gets to more suffering. So basically, the deputy interior minister of Iran met with his counterpart from Qatar. There's an agreement for a prisoner release. Apparently, Qatar had arrested Iranian fishermen that had encroached on its quote-unquote territorial waters. So apparently, those fishermen will be released. They also discussed drug smuggling. Apparently, it's happening in the Persian Gulf, and they're going to work together to curb it. Another sticking point was the removal of the need to book a hotel for Iranians. So for Iranians traveling to Qatar, they were apparently required to book hotel rooms first. So you'd have to have a proof of stay, which makes it incredibly difficult for them to travel. So that's removed. There's also talk about trade, cargo inspections, and also residency rights for Iranian businessmen. So we have to understand that whenever these kind of deals are made, it actually empowers the IRGC, and it also empowers the Islamic regime. It basically strengthens them. It means more money for them, and it means more legitimacy, and their stay in power just becomes stronger. The worst part of this deal, Iman, you remember the laborers that we all witnessed in Qatar? Well, there's now an agreement to recruit about 2,000 to 3,000 Iranian experts and quote technicians to work in various economic and industrial projects. And for anyone who's not aware, these laborers are under the harshest conditions.
Horrible conditions. I remember when I was working at the Ritz-Carlton, like at 6 o'clock in the morning, they would be shuttled in like a bus that holds like 50 people with like 100 people. And they would be like 10 people to a room staying together, like working 18 hours a day for like, I want to say at the time, like $10 a day or something. Like it's modern day slavery. I mean, it was unreal. And like in like 125 degrees summer Qatar weather, like outdoor. I mean, so many of these individuals like would die, especially the skyscraper building that they were doing. I mean, unfortunately, like their lives were never valued. It's tragic. Speaking of tragic, there's horrific news about orphanages in Iran. What are the allegations?
So Etemad published the disturbing news back on June 11th, which I just got wind of it myself, but I thought it was important to share. So this news, Etemad is one of Iran's daily newspapers, and it's a story that involves dozens of kids in state-run orphanages that are run by clerics. It reveals that there are multiple cases of child abuse at an orphanage called, basically it's under what's called the State Welfare Organization of Iran. And basically I'm not going to go into the description, but there are horrid descriptions of physical, like of torture like torture that you hear of at Evin prison on children happening at an orphanage. And it also outlines a plan that the clerics had, and says, quote, they devised a scoring system to evaluate the behavior of children and subject them to serious psychological torture. So it's believed that the abuse started 8 years ago, at least. There are some individuals who've been reprimanded, but in these situations, nothing really happens. And the government officials have actually requested a retraction to the article.
Always putting things under the rug. We're hearing about a young man who died after police raided a party. What do we know about that story?
We don't know much. We know that it happened at a party in Mashhad where both men and women were in attendance. The Islamic regime police forces conducted a raid after they got a tip from neighbors. Allegedly, he fell from the 6th floor balcony, but we don't know if he was pushed. The reports are saying that he died under mysterious circumstances, and the police haven't made an official statement. For those who aren't aware, under the Islamic regime in Iran, it's prohibited for men and women to party together. You can if you're a member of the same family, and we often see them at gatherings and at weddings, but usually there's a large bribe that's paid to the local police force to make sure that you're not raided. So restrictions are ignored, but there are times when the police just decide to go beyond, and there are horrific instances of, teens, young adults being arrested, being tortured, being jailed, simply for having a good time with friends, and died in this circumstance.
Can we get to updates on protesters and detainees?
Got some really bad news, Iman. We've been talking about Khurshid Azadi, who's a cousin of our near and dear Shiva Sabir, who is leading or one of the leaders of the Azadi Festival. Her cousin is Baha'i, and as we've been mentioning pretty much every week on this broadcast, Baha'is are not even treated as second-class citizens under the Islamic regime. They're just not even recognized. They don't have regular access to education, to healthcare, to just basically anything, any government-run service or resource. They're essentially deprived of living a normal life. Their land is often confiscated from there. Their homes are destroyed for absolutely no reason other than being Baha'i. And Khurshid Azadi is a judo coach. He's a prominent member of the community. He's a prominent businessman. He's a father. He's a husband. And he's basically was arrested a few weeks ago under zero clue what the charges were against him. But now he has been officially handed a sentence. It's 5 years in prison. There's a very large fine. He's under house arrest. They're preventing him from doing business once he comes out. And they're also revoking his passport for a time period. So let's keep his name alive. Like, just because a sentence was handed, it doesn't mean that we can't still help him. We should use the hashtag #FreeKhurshida to keep his story alive and hopefully get his sentence reduced or, completely abolished. There is a story that we talked about last week that we didn't, or that I mentioned that I would mention this week, and it was a deputy UN High Commissioner officer who put out a report about the incidences of death and executions this year. So I'm just going to do a rundown to give everybody a perspective. In 2022, 582 people were executed. That is a 75% increase from 2021. 333 people were executed in 2021, 582 in 2022. There were 3 children among those who were executed in 2022. Of the total number of executions, they say 256 were drug-related offenses, but we know oftentimes these charges are fabricated against individuals. Thousands of children are estimated to have been among those arrested during the protests. At least 44 kids and 10 girls were reportedly killed by security forces during this round of protests. And as of March 2nd this year, more than 1,000 students, the majority of whom are girls, have been reportedly affected by poisoning at 91 schools in 20 provinces. That's a poison gas release. So that is an official number from the UN.
We're going to make sure that at Azadi Festival on Monday, we're going to have an area designated for Khurshida, actually, and we're going to mention it and have some kind of call to action, and just everybody go there to share it in their story. The whole, say their name to save their life is going to be something that we're going to make sure we do for Khurshida. What are the action items this week? And what are the hashtags?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you. The hashtags are free Hushida. We're definitely going to keep his name out there. Mohamed Bobadou, we don't have a word on his, whether he got a stay of execution or whether, you know, he will be released. IRGC terrorists, when it comes to unlawfully detained prisoners, it's Saif Sharmad, Tumash Salehi, Saman Yassin, and the mainstays, of course, are Masa Amini and Iran Revolution.
And you're on a mission to educate all Iranians about one specific thing. What is your final message for our listeners?
There's a couple of things, but honestly, the one sticking point is that our language is called Persian and English. Like, if you look at the root of languages, the Indo-Persian languages is actually at the root of so many languages, so many Asian languages. Maybe we'll actually do a culture segment one day so we could talk about it. So it's actually a phrase used, a word used in linguistics. Persian is the name of our language. Farsi is the name of our language. وقتی که به فارسی حرف میزنیم. But when we're using it in English, let's not erase our own history.
Thank you so much, Parishon. خسته نباشی. As always, we appreciate you and wishing you a wonderful rest of the evening. به امید.
Thank you. Azadi.
Good
Bye.
night. Ladies and gentlemen, please show Paris some love, as usual, doing her best to inform us. We're going to keep this countdown train going. Up next, it's the stress doctor. Going to welcome Dr. Sam Rassoul. Wait, Sam, I don't see you. It's supposed to be Sam. Is it there? Nope, I see Sareh. Are we doing a little switcheroo? Give me a second, guys. I'm going per our schedule. What's going on here? All right, I'm gonna bring Sareh. Okay, no, now I see Sam. Okay, all right. We see Sam coming up. For those of you who are not familiar, Sam is a doctor of chiropractic and enzyme nutrition, and today we're going to be talking about avoiding postural landmines. Durud.
Oh man, I was having some technical difficulties.
It's okay. I'm having physical difficulties, so you know, together we're both screwed at the moment. But good to have you here, my friend. Thank you so much for making time and always trying to drop some knowledge with regards to health and fitness and wellness. You know, and today we're going to be talking about postural landmines. What are some of the most common postural landmines, Dr. Sam?
Well, the biggest thing, Iman, John, I think we talked about it in my office before, is that, you know, we think about what we do, like if we go to a physical therapist, we go to see a personal trainer, we go to see a chiropractor, we talk to that professional about, you know, doing some rehab exercises, but then we forget about these postural landmines, as I call them, is what we do on a daily basis. How do you sleep? How do you sit? How do you sit on the toilet? You know, how do you stand? How do you reach down and get stuff out of the fridge? So it's being mindful. But one of the biggest ones, especially in this day and age, and for all those people right now, not to call you guys out, watching this on your phone, please, if you're like this, please raise your phone up, because this is something that's so detrimental to your body. It's not just about like I could get neck stiffness and neck pain. It could cause a world of hurt, degeneration, arthritis, and so many other things.
Is the only way to fix them is by seeing a chiropractor or a physical therapist?
Good question. And it's yes and no to that question, because a lot of times, like if you have a joint that's locked up, if you have nerve irritation and inflammation, and if you have muscular imbalances, then yes, definitely seeing a chiropractic physician or a physical therapist is going to help. However, you wouldn't know that unless you got assessed, but there are things you can do at home, like strengthening your back muscles and also strengthening and putting yourself in good posture. So going back to the analogy about the text neck, as they call it, instead of being like this, holding the phone up like this, to help combat that even more, you can do some strengthening exercises, pulling your shoulders back, putting your head up, and almost like pulling your shoulder blades into your spine. That's going to help you in the short term. But of course, if you have a neck impingement or nerve irritation, you definitely want to see a professional.
Just talking to you always makes me want to get upright, because I'm realizing how hunched and how this was horrible. What are some of the best at-home techniques to combat these landmines?
Well, the biggest thing, like we talked about, is the easy one, lifting your phone up. But the ones that people always forget about is if you're sitting on a couch or you're sitting at your dining room table or you're sitting at your desk, try to put some kind of support in your lower back. Don't be hunched over like this. A lot of people will sit on the couch after a long day and they're hunched over watching TV, and you've got the shoulders rolled forward and one leg's up and one leg's on the ground. So really try to, I'm not telling you to sit like a military man, but you can actually sit and put some back support, that lower back, put a little pillow down there, roll up a blanket or something to put it down there. The other one is learn to bend with your legs, bend with your knees down, whether you're picking up something from the floor, reaching down in the refrigerator, or doing anything, or playing with your kids or small children in general, bending with the knees instead of bending with your back. Again, it's not the one time you do it, it's the 100,000th time you do it. You don't want to pour gasoline on the fire.
So this might be my medication talking, but it seems like Ice Cube had a very good chiropractor where he taught him you can do it, put your back into it. So you got to go ahead and put the thing, right? Is that what it is?
and the award for best line and best analogy goes to
Iman. I give all thanks to the extra strength Tylenol. Appreciate you very much out there. Thank you. Mom, thank you so much. Thank you.
Listen, for that, I'm going to piggyback off you and say, you know what, in the words of Ice Cube, today was a good day because I got that analogy from you.
Well, it's always a good day when you join Countdown, Dr. Sam. Appreciate all that you do to take care of my back and my neck and all the other things that are kajikole and impinging my nerves. So nothing but love. Enjoy the rest of your evening. But Omide.
Azadi, and thank you, Iman John, and thank you to everybody who's helping out with the Azadi Festival. I just want to give one shout out to you and everyone that's doing this, and any one of my friends, any one of my followers. Guys, if you're in the Washington, D.C., Virginia, Maryland, Delaware area, get your tails out to Azadi Festival. You will not be disappointed. Come for the culture and the food. Stay for the impact. We need to raise the voice of what the Azadi Festival is, and I appreciate you, Iman John, for what you're doing.
Appreciate you being one of the allies of the festival, and you're supporting so much from afar. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Take care. Romid Azadi.
All right. Romid Azadi. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to keep on going and rocking and rolling. I hope you're enjoying the program so far. We tried to do a mixture of news, health, wellness, community, unity. And speaking of which, it's time for our Uniters segment. In the meantime, I want to give a shout out to Mo from Retail Therapy Clinic. I want to give a shout out to Dylan, RJ, the best pilot on the Eastern Hemisphere. Sahar June, we got Reina from Canada. A lot of beautiful people. Like when I say beautiful people, I'm not just talking about looks because they're all freaking beautiful, but just beautiful humans. I want to say thank you for joining us. And I know I saw earlier Anna from Colombia. Sorry if I missed you, but just want to say thank you guys. Appreciate you for being a part of the program. You know, you're the reason why we keep on doing this, because we see people tuning in, caring, and wanting to be informed, you know, and that's really all we're trying to do. So let's keep on doing it together. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to welcome sister from another mister. Sareh Kazemi is joining. She's worked so hard in the past couple of weeks helping make the Azadi Festival happen. Durud Aziz.
درود ایمان جان، خوبی عزیز؟ خسته نباشی.
خیلی ممنون. مرسی. شما خسته نباشین.
مرسی. Thank you.
Honestly, Sareh June, like you've been a lifesaver, taking on so much of what Mariam and Mona were doing before they went on their vacation, and so thank you.
Yeah, they did the same for me, and I can't really say they're on vacation because they continue to jump in every chance they get. I'm amazed. But honestly, I'm such a small part of what's happening. There's a group of ambassadors that I'm just in awe of, really. And you mentioned some of them that are here, but there is a whole list that are not, that are probably actively getting ready for the Azadi Festival as we speak. It's just so impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the WhatsApp thing, and there's like 30 chats going buzzing. And
I know.
There's Robin in Netherlands. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning, but he's here. He's working, he's creating content, he's showing fire signs.
So impressive. Yeah, I mean, he's just dropping gems in every sub chat we have. So, Ravin, shout out to you. Thanks for all you're doing.
You know,
love all the support you provide.
It turns out that me and Ravin are actually family through marriage. Like
I saw. What a small world. Cool. What a small world. And Anaita and I, we're not family, but my father is best friends with her uncle, and it's just, I mean, like, such a small world.
It like this is why, like, it's like, man, like we can really get majority of the community together. We're all connected by 1 or 2 people, so we just have to continue doing what we're doing. And so what are we doing, Sarah Joan? What's been going on at Divide and Conquer?
Yeah, so obviously, hopefully you haven't been under a rock. You've either heard me say it multiple times on this countdown show, or you've seen it all over Instagram and other media outlets. But on July 3rd, coming up next Monday, we're hosting our first ever Azadi Festival, which is 12 hours of programming starting at 1:11 p.m., going all the way through to the next day at 1:11 a.m., hosting it in person at Ship Garden in Tyson's near DC. If you're in person, as Dr. Sam said, if you're able to attend in person, do not miss out. This is going to be an incredibly immersive experience where we do our best, literally from ground up, from the people, for the people, to bring Iran to you, to bring the best of our culture, all of the talents from the community, which is the beauty of it, right? Like if you haven't had a chance to experience the lead up to the Azadi Festival, let me just tell you that the energy that we harness, the group that has come together, the willingness to kind of make this a beautiful event is exactly the unity we're striving to achieve for the long term. And if we're able to take what we have harnessed here, bottle it, and throw it like a bomb into Iran, I'm just, it's exactly what we need to continue to foster to make us stronger to be able to take down this regime. It absolutely is connected. It's through love, through energy, through hope, through coming together. I'm literally covered in goosebumps as I'm saying this, but one last thing I have to say about Azadi Festival, and that's that if you're in person, get there, don't miss out. But if you're not able to be there in person, the entire 12 hours of programming is being live streamed, and high quality live streaming. You're going to see probably even more than people who are there in person, because there's going to be behind the stage, Iman, you know the programming lingo better than I do, like behind the scenes
Yeah. Behind the scenes. We're going to have a roaming camera, meaning like we're literally going to kind of like take the camera and go between people and go from the Sunnati room to the kids room to all the different components of this ultimate Iranian festival. So yeah, behind the scenes.
So how do you join? I'm not technically savvy, so I would need someone to tell me. If you go to www.azadi-festival.com,
well, you forgot
right
the
now, www.azadi-festival.com right now, and you scroll down to the bottom, you can actually kind of create a reminder for yourself. There's a button to kind of do that. But literally on that day, if you go on Instagram and you follow at Let's Unite and Conquer, you should be able to see it there. If not, you can go to that website that I just mentioned and be able to access the live stream. So literally just follow at Let's Unite and Conquer, or go to that website on that day. And you'll be able to access the live stream for free and get full immersive experience into the first ever Azadi Festival.
Yeah, that was perfectly stated. Yeah, basically all roads to the live stream lead right to azadi-festival.com. And, just to make sure that we have multiple backups and backups and backups so that we're not like disappointed that all this work and I don't know, the link to Facebook didn't work. When you go to azadi-festival.com, if one link won't work, you go to the next one. Either way, there's going to be multiple places that you can go to make sure that you're watching. And, like I said, I do think that people who are going to watch online, they're going to get a whole different perspective that people that are in person aren't going to get it either. And so we got nice little cranes coming. We got multiple cameras coming. And it's going to be a very cool production, I think. I'm looking forward to it.
I didn't say this before, and there's so much happening. We have so many little sub-teams that are working on the entire creative design of the festival. We have a team that's working on programming led by Iman to do the run-up show for all of our performers. And I think what's important to mention here is some of the constructive criticism I've heard of other events that have been held other places is the lack of inclusivity and diversity. And we have representation from all of our community. As I mentioned, it's from us, by us, for us. There is no, nothing against them, but major name that's being dropped at this at this festival that's drawing people in for concert vibes. No, this is harnessed in love, unity, wanting to celebrate the best of our culture and history. And you're going to get exactly that when you get there. From the second you enter at the door to every single section. The kids corner has beautiful programming. So much thought and effort has gone into it so far. So many people from all over the nation are kind of coming together to think about how we can bring an experience for children to the Azadi Festival. We also have, of course, the Sonati room, as Iman mentioned, and we have I don't want to give away too much of the surprise, but we have an incredibly talented uniter, ambassador, Eli June, who's putting together just such a beautiful, beautiful experience that I don't want to give away. I just want to save the surprise factor. But if you are there to see it, and if you happen to catch it on the live stream, just consider yourself blessed. That's not even to mention all of the performances that are coming up from, I can keep going. You know,
no, go ahead. It's great. You're doing great.
Dance to singing to rapping. I'm just so in awe of the talent. To comedy. Not to leave. I cannot wait. I just cannot wait. I literally cannot wait. I'm so blessed to be there in person, and I'm taking my whole family. And every episode, I'm going to mention my beautiful Gussie that I get to take with me.
Yeah.
So I'm so lucky.
Because dogs are welcome too. We have a dog park, so it's family friendly, dog friendly. And rain or shine.
Our vendors. We're going to have vendors and sponsors, so much talent, so much beautiful crafts and Iranian businesses. This is to celebrate them. This is to highlight them. This is to support them. You know, I mean, we really need to have a paradigm change as to how we look at this. I mean, why not? What's wrong with bringing our businesses together and saying, this is who we are. This is the talent we exude. This is who we need to support. And I can't wait to see them all there. We had so many of them on Iman's awesome people IG lives. And if you want to get a sneak peek of those, check out Iman's page. And you'll get to kind of see everyone that we'll be having at the Azadi Festival. But I'm so excited to see them.
Yeah, and if anybody just wants to go to Let's Unite and Conquer's Instagram and just scroll down and scroll down and scroll down, there's endless number of people where you can see who the performers are, who the ambassadors are, who the allies are. And what I recommend for anybody that might be stumbling upon this right now for the first time or on YouTube later, is that when you go look at all those people, the reason why we're highlighting their names and stuff is because every single one of those people have been fighting for a free Iran the last 10 months. There's not just somebody that has a lot of talent that is coming to perform. The major common denominator between the almost 100 ambassadors, allies, singers, musicians, dancers, creatives, business owners, we vetted them. Mm-hmm. You have to be able to go through their social medias and see, wow, for the last 10 months, they've been fighting for a free Iran.
Yeah.
So that's really also another special thing, is that we are the most aligned group of individuals. I mean, like, if you believe in energy, the energy is like smooth sailing, you know, and it's like full of respect, full of kindness, full of like unconditional support. It's one big revolution family, as Ravinjan first, coined.
Absolutely, definitely. It definitely has been the best experience.
Yeah, and anybody, I recommend that when they go see those individuals, follow them, because every single one of us, we need to continue to grow our platform if we then collectively want to be that voice of true change, and so that's why we're highlighting and showcasing so much promotional material, because every single one of them, we need to help their community grow too, because they're in it by itself. Everybody's doing something in their specialty, in their talent, in their passion for which angle to fight this regime. And so it's important that these are all hardcore activists, but they might not be super famous public figures. None of us are. And so that means that we just have to, brick by brick, step by step, grow our community to be the loudest voice that we can be. And so all we've done together is unite so that we can conquer.
That's right. Consider each one of those little posts a brick, because that's exactly what's happening here.
Yeah. And new friendships, new opportunities, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, confirm that Iman makes me vet 1,000 times all the emails. For anyone that's gotten an email from the Unite and Conquer team, I apologize for all the back and forth. That's me, and Mona, and Mariam. Yeah. But you know, we
have to vet. You know, we have to make sure there's no bad apples coming into the system. You know, it's just very, very important to us. You know,
absolutely.
Well, I think we covered everything, huh?
Sounds good. Yeah, absolutely, Iman. I can't wait to see you there.
Yes, thank you so much for coming all the way from Florida. DC is gonna embrace you and your entire family with open arms. Sareh Kazemi is gonna bless the stage with a poem. It's gonna be amazing.
Yeah.
Saba is gonna be in the kids' corner doing her thing, dancing in the rain. It is rain or shine, ladies and gentlemen, so don't be afraid. Right. There's a little bit of rain in the forecast. We're gonna have a great time. At midnight is tear gun anyways, and Mo from Retail Therapy is gonna educate us on the fact that tear gun has water elements, so barum. I'll stop singing. I see Matthew is in the waiting room. Okay. Let's bring on that beautiful human being, and let's keep on going. See you, Sarah, in DC.
Okay, bye.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was Sareh Kazemi. Thank you so much for the Uniters update. As Matthew clicks to he requested to join. I'm going to give a little bit of background again in case you missed the original bio. Matthew Nouriel, aka the Empress Mizrahi, is a non-binary digital activist and content creator. Matthew is of Iranian Jewish descent and lives in LA and uses their voice to passionately advocate and fight for the causes they believe in. They have used their platform to support LGBTQ plus rights and equality within the Iranian and Jewish communities and combating anti-Semitism. Matthew has taken on leadership roles with both queer and non-queer organizations such as JDC Entwine, JQ International, Tel Aviv Institute, and is part of the team at Jimena, Jews indigenous to the Middle East and North Africa. I told you guys I'm on medication. I apologize. I had oral surgery a few hours ago. I'm a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. In 2021, they were the recipient of the Trailblazer Award at the JQ International Annual Impact Awards. We've got a lot to cover on all their advocacy work, ladies and gentlemen. If you have been a part of this revolution for the past 10 months, I have no doubt that you have been following Matthew and all the consistent content that constantly brings us awareness and education and enlightenment on what's happening. So if you're ready for Matthew, make some virtual noise, show some love, drop some hearts. It's time to bring on Matthew, who has blessed us with being one of the ambassadors of Azadi Festival. So it just kind of worked out that he was also the special guest this week. So we planned this a month ago, and here they are.
Hi.
Hi, Matthew.
I need to find the correct filter.
Oh, this is actually cool.
Hold on. How about this one? There we go. That's the one.
Where is this button? How come I'm not aware of these things?
At the top, there should be a little smiley face. I can't find my
you must
filter, so it's all good.
Hi. Oh, hold on. I gotta do a little something. Hold on. I gotta see this. Oh, you know what? I'm afraid I'm gonna do something and I won't be able to revert. Okay. Good to see you, Matthew. Appreciate you. You know, like I was just saying right now that, you know, we planned to have you as a special guest like almost a month ago, and then so much has happened in the past month, and you decided to join the Azadi Festival as an ambassador, as if you didn't already have a million things that you're working on. You decided to, you know, put your time and heart into Azadi Festival. So I'll get to that in a second. But for those who don't know you, could you give a little bit of a background about yourself? Where were you born? Where were you raised? And what has led you to this world of activism, especially in the past 10 months where you've been so active?
Sure. So the name is Matthew Nouriel. Born in the UK, parents are both Iranian, Tehrani. I've never actually lived in Iran. I was taken there once when I was like 10 months old or 9 months old. So obviously I have no recollection of it. I've always been a very outspoken person. And over the last few years, that has sort of helped me with building up my Instagram account. But that was never the goal. The goal was always just to, I don't know. I just could never keep my mouth shut about things. So, I mean, even back in, when was it, 2019, there was shit going on in Iran. I started talking about it. Even back in 2009, With the Green Revolution, it was something that I would talk about. And it just so happened that when this revolution happened was at a time when my Instagram page was already growing because of the activism I was doing and because of the advocacy that I was doing on behalf of my Jewish identity and on behalf of my queer identity. All of that kind of took a sort of, I don't want to say it took a back burner, but it kind of became secondary to what was happening in Iran for me, because in my view, what's happening in Iran is incredibly urgent. Like it needs to be addressed, and it needs to be addressed now. We need to strike while the iron is hot, and the iron was hot in September. It's cooled off a little bit now, but I think it's up to all of us who are in this space to keep that iron hot. So that's kind of a little bit about who I am and what I do.
Yeah, no, it's great. So I know you didn't live there, but did you ever visit ever since you left at 10 months old?
No, I mean, I was born in the UK, and my mom took me when I was 10 months old to visit all of her family, because my dad's family was in the UK, and my mom's family was in Iran. And that was just before the revolution, and then the revolution happened. And
so you've never been back?
No.
Okay.
Unfortunately, my mom's family they all sort of fled. They all left.
They come the story.
Yeah.
So listen, your posts, they vary from current events to historical facts, and I'm very curious, were you always interested in these topics? And like, how do you go about pulling together all of this information? What's like the mind process?
So for me, the process is, so usually when somebody runs like an Instagram account, they have one sort of focal point. For me, my whole purpose of running this account is to be unabashedly visible in all facets of my identity. And that means being queer, that means being Jewish, and that means being Iranian. So history is something that's always interested me, especially Jewish history, especially Iranian history, queer history. And there's so many facts within all of these elements that people don't know about. Like my last post about the first gay wedding in Iran, first and last gay wedding in Iran in 1978.
That's right. Before
it happened pretty much anywhere else in the world. So those kinds of things.
Well, for those who don't know the story about the 1978 couple that even despite MEK and two-day threats, they did that. Can you kind of share a little bit more about that story for those who don't know about it?
Yeah. So there was a gay couple who had been together for a long time. I'm really bad with names, so I can never. Bijan Safari was one of them, and I forgot his husband's name. Unfortunately, I have a very bad memory when it comes to names. But they were a gay couple in, I guess, the 70s. I don't know how far back, but I know they were together for a while. Bijan Safari's father was a senator in the Shah's government. And both him and his husband were very close with the Empress Farah Pahlavi. And they were well-to-do. They were a well-to-do, I guess what we would call today the A-gays, right? And they wanted to commemorate their union, and they had this wedding in Tehran. A lot of very famous people went to the wedding. Apparently, Gugush even wrote a song that was inspired by the wedding. And though it wasn't a legally recognized wedding, because gay marriage wasn't legally recognized at that time, they wanted to commemorate it in as traditional of a wedding as possible. So that's what they did. And then this created a lot of backlash because that was kind of a year before the revolution happened. So there was already so much political upheaval. And that kind of, a lot of the opposition groups used that as ammunition against the Shah, saying, look at the corrupt regime, the Shah's regime, look at what they're allowing to happen. And so this couple, when they went to Paris on their honeymoon, never returned, because I guess the revolution was inevitable at that point, and there were threats put out on their life. But it just really shows, I would never say things were perfect. It's not my place to say things were perfect. I wasn't there. I didn't live there. I wasn't even alive. So yes, there were problems with the Shah's regime. Nobody can deny that. But the truth of the matter is, it was set on a trajectory. Iran was set on this trajectory to become a very progressive, very liberal, forward-thinking society and country. And unfortunately, and that wedding just kind of, it proves that. It kind of shows that, right? And unfortunately, the revolution happened, and the opposition groups used whatever they could and fear-mongered as much as they could. And that, unfortunately, was, I know that there is a scholar who actually says that that was a major tipping point in the revolution, was that gay wedding, because they were able to use it as such ammunition. So that was kind of, that was that. And the revolution happened, and they never went back to Iran. And Mr. Safari died in 2019 in Paris, and his partner the same year. So,
well, like what's great that I see with your post is that, you know, you want to make sure that, I'm assuming that you want to bring in the educational part. You know, there's a lot of education that a lot of us that were born and raised outside of Iran, or even those that are inside of Iran, they're just not getting factual stuff. And so I think one angle that you're taking is that, hey, we have to be able to really educate ourselves on the past, you know, the good and the bad of our history, you know, pre-revolution, since the revolution, and, you know, that's very important. All the mistruths, as Paris is mentioning in the comment section. So another one of your posts, which I loved at the time when you, me and you are aligned on many, many things. So, but one of these ones that I liked, you said the White House Nowruz parties are nice. Nice won't free Iran. What do you believe will free Iran?
you know, that's a really tough question for me to answer, and I've been asked it so many times, you'd think I'd have a good answer by now. I don't know. What I do know is that the people, the subjects, the citizens of Iran are not happy. Like, I believe they say something like over 80% of them do not want the current regime in place. And what I do know is that as progressive countries, as democratic countries outside of Iran, I would imagine it would be our government's jobs to do what they can to ensure that the peoples of countries such as Iran are living in circumstances that are circumstances that they wish to be in. The Islamic Republic regime is an incredibly repressive regime. So I'm not one of these people that goes around Biden bashing or whatever. You know, as far as I'm concerned, that was the only option we had for president. However, as somebody who voted for him, instead of standing there and defending him on every level that I can and finding reasons why he's great or whatever, I feel like it's my responsibility, and those of us who actually voted for him, to call him out when he's doing something that's messed up. And I'm sorry, but that whole Nowruz party situation, listen, I would have gone. I think you would have gone. Anybody who's invited to the White House, I don't think would have said no to it. However, it's important for us to understand what's virtue signaling when we see it. And that was absolute virtue signaling, because we're seeing the people of Iran, our people, going through such immense suffering right now. And for the past, and forget the past 10 months, the past 44 years. So what is this sort of like appeasing event that's taking place that really, at the end of the day, what is he actually doing to help Iran?
No.
So I don't know what would help Iran specifically, but I know that's not it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know throwing a party is not going to do anything. And I certainly know that helping release billions of dollars to this disgusting, horrible regime that is committing human rights violations on a daily basis for 44 years is not where it's at. So we're not, it kind of makes me feel like that administration is underestimating our intelligence.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but then when you have fellow Iranians that are like clapping and applauding, or at least not calling out, it's like you're really hurting our cause, you know. And my whole thing is that if it was a Republican president doing the same exact thing, I would do the same thing. So sometimes it's annoying that the Democrats, I'm like, dude, I voted for this fool. I was like, why are you not upset? I was like, I don't care if it was Republican, I would do the same exact thing. You know, that's been the most frustrating part. But my question to you is that, you know, you definitely cover a lot of controversial topics, which is why I like you so much. And then, like, but what do you get a lot of pushback on?
Oh God, you name it. I've been called Shahi like so many times, and I want to create a post addressing this, like a video addressing this, so I may as well address it right here. It's important for me. Well, let me get back to your question. What have I gotten pushback on? I've gotten pushback. Listen, I live at a very controversial intersection, queer, Jewish, Iranian, right? So I get pushback on pretty much everything that I do or say. If I'm posting about Israel with certain Israel advocates, it's not Zionist enough, and with others it's too Zionist. And if I'm posting about Iranian stuff, why I've gotten people saying, why are you talking about LGBTQ issues? That's not where it's at. No, homie, that's exactly where it's at. Because all you need to do to look at a society to see how they treat queer people, how they treat women, how they treat minorities. And believe me, LGBTQ plus people have been at the scrapped bottom of the barrel with the Islamic Republic regime. So I get pushed back on a lot of things, but I'm not interested in back and forth with people, with arguments with people. I try to put out everything as factually based as I can. Sure, is there some biases there sometimes? A little bit. Everybody has internal biases, but I try my best to present things as historically accurate and as factual as possible. Now, as far as the whole Shahi thing, listen, whether I am a fan of the Shah, whether I'm a fan of RP, as I like to call him, or Noor, or Empress Farah, any of the royal family, is absolutely irrelevant to the discussion, because at the end of the day, I'm not an Iranian citizen. I've never lived in Iran. I'm not the one who's going to be voting once there's a democracy in place, right? I'm a US citizen, I'm a British citizen, I'm almost an Israeli citizen, but I'm not an Iranian citizen, unfortunately. And hopefully one day I'll be able to get that citizenship as well. Vali, it's such an irrelevant non-starter of an argument. Like, why bother bringing this up? Oh, you posted about Reza Pahlavi, you're a Shahi, this and that. What difference does it make? Yeah. I have no power as far as who comes into my only goal, my number one goal of putting anything out, and I think it's all of our goals, is to see the people of Iran have the freedom and democracy that they deserve and that they desire. And that's it. If they turn around and said, we don't want RP, great. That's fantastic. Whatever you guys want, I'm good with. And I will always promote that. I like RP. End of story. It's irrelevant to the discussion. So
I've literally had the same conversation and explanation as you have, you know. It's like, but that doesn't mean I want monarchy, you know. And but more important, like you said, is that my vote is nothing. I don't have a vote. We're just trying to amplify the voices of the Iranians. Which, now let's get to Azadi Festival, because, you know, you're not just an ambassador. You confirmed a few days ago that you're not just going to be coming to the festival, but you're literally doing like a 24-hour trip. And like that to me is like showing just how much you care to just come over there. And you're literally not even going to be there for the entire duration of the program, which is going to be a very sad goodbye for us, because, you know, it's sad, but we're going to be so grateful that you're making that trip. So why are you making that trip? Why was it so important for you to be a part of this?
I think after having a discussion with you and other ambassadors and hearing how passionately you spoke about how this is it's a grassroots effort, and you hit so many nails on the head in our discussion, which was that this is for Iranian people and by Iranian people. And one thing that struck me is that throughout this entire movement, we've seen a lot of sort of emphasis placed on celebrity and emphasis placed on the currency that is social media following or likes or whatever. And that's not what it should be about. It's great. It's great. Do I want more followers? Of course. One of the big reasons I would want more followers is because the more people who follow you, the more people get to see your message. And that's what it should always be about, is the message. So this being a grassroots sort of thing that's by Iranian people, for Iranian people, and celebrating Iran culture, celebrating Iranian diversity. It's a very diverse group of people you've brought together to put this whole thing together. Meant a lot to me. And I feel like it's super meaningful. So I felt like it's sort of a responsibility to be there and to speak there. So I'm honored that you would even have me be a part of this.
Of course, man. You've been one of the most consistent and genuine and authentic freedom fighters that we've had. We would have just been happy with you being an ambassador from afar, but the moment you said you're coming, I was like, this is phenomenal, and we cannot wait to meet you in person and give you a big hug and say thank you for everything you've been doing as well, and just giving us more energy. You know, like when somebody comes from afar to be there, it really speaks a lot. So appreciate you doing that. It's a 24-hour trip that we are never going to forget that you did. So thank you for that.
I know. I wish I could stay longer. Honestly, I found the latest flight I could get out was 7 p.m. and that's the one I grabbed. So
we're gonna make it the best 24 hours. Don't you worry. So let me ask you, and I have a couple last questions for you. Is you haven't been to Iran since you were 10 months old, so pretty much you haven't really been in Iran. The moment that Iran is free, and when you go to Iran, what is the first thing that Matthew Nouriel will be doing?
oh my God. I've thought about this with, you know, there's a whole community of Iranian LGBTQ plus people here in LA, and we've always talked about, you know what, the minute that it's free, the minute that being queer is decriminalized, we are going to go there and have the gayest fucking time in the world and just celebrate our Iranianness and celebrate our queerness and that intersection of our identity that's unified. But beyond that, I just want to go visit. I want to see where my family's from and where my ancestors have been for 2,500 years. Jews have been in Iran. It's the oldest Jewish diaspora community in the world, one of them. So I want to go see that. I want to experience it. I want to witness it. I want to see where my family grew up. I want to see where my mom's, you know, the house, that if it's still there, that my mom and dad lived as neighbors and that's how they met. I want to see that. I want to, all of the freaking Cello Kababi videos that you see on TikTok of these amazing like restaurants. I want to try them. I want to eat all the kebab in the world, you know, and just immerse myself in the culture and the peoplehood and with freedom. Because I do want to say this, I do have other gay friends who have gone back and forth and they're like, it's fine, there's underground parties and this and that. I'm not interested in going anywhere, let alone my parents, you know, home country, where I have to hide who I am, right? So I know that there's a lot of LGBTQ plus people in Iran, so I would definitely want to connect with them as well. And yes, Rachel, my love, very soon. God willing, that will all happen within our lifetimes.
Oh, it will. I mean, and I believe that we're on the right track. I think that the group of people that we're bringing together, it's not tens of thousands of people just yet, but this is a strong foundation that we're building. And we have people like you and so many amazing people right now that are part of this. So we are going to get there. And then we're going to take Azadi Festival to Tehran. And there's going to be the Pride Parade inside the Azadi Festival. So we can see everybody and anybody that represents our people and that wants to support and love our people, all under the beautiful skies of Iran, man. So I hope that happens. I know it will happen. We don't know when, but we're on the right path together. So thank you so much for being a part.
Of course. And thank you for everything you're doing, Iman. You're working so hard, and know that it's not gone unnoticed. You're a legend, man. Thank you.
It's my duty, my pleasure, and it's truly been a great journey so far. And we're gonna rock it on July 3rd. Can't wait to see you. Ba Azadi.
Belmida Azadi.
Khuda Hafiz. Much love, Matthew. Ooh.
You
see,
too.
I almost pressed X myself. Yeah, you press X top right. Yeah, I almost out of excitement I pressed X with myself. So ladies and gentlemen, that was Matthew Nouriel. Appreciate it, them joining us. And yeah, I mean, I think at this point, if you're not excited about Azadi Festival July 3rd, something is wrong with you. So maybe you just don't know enough about it, which that's the case. Go to the link in the bio or go to azadi-festival.com. Just find out what it is. Go look at the pinned post that I have. Look at the beautiful promo video. And if you don't mind, when you watch it, if it touches you, if it gets you excited, share it. Share it all over. Why? Because the entire 12-hour program, if you can't make it in the DC area, you can watch it via live stream, via azadi-festival.com. So really an amazing opportunity. In my opinion, as far as I know, it is the first time that Iranians will be able to unite under one virtual roof as we celebrate our culture. All around the world, we come together, and for non-Iranians who want to see it, learn about it, or curious about it, it's for you. You're welcome to come join us. And we're going to do our best to give you a great behind-the-scenes experience so that even if you're not there in person, you're going to be able to see the great dances, the Sunnati dances, the pop dances, the rappers, the the Sonati singers, the fashion show, runway that we have. I mean, so many different things. I've lost track, and the medication is really, really getting to me at this point. So without taking up any more of your time, just want to thank you all for joining us for episode 26 of Countdown to Freedom in Iran. If you're joining for the very first time, Countdown is a weekly live stream dedicated to what's happening in Iran. We're going to continue having Countdown until we reach the freedom that we're all yearning for. So every Wednesday night, usually it's 8 p.m. Eastern time. Next Wednesday, I'm traveling actually on Wednesday evening, so it'll be earlier during the day. We'll let you know what time it is. Follow Let's Unite and Conquer. Subscribe to the Unite and Conquer YouTube channel. And Ba'omide Azadi. Shab Khair to all the ambassadors and allies of Ambassador of Azadi Festival. We're going to Shab Khair.